What's up, guys? Today I'm here in Dallas and we're stuck because of the storm. Flight got rescheduled till 10 p.m. So I'm gonna crank out my longest YouTube video yet. And this is gonna be essentially my path from $0 all the way into 6 figures in less than a year and how I did it. And honestly, if you follow this stuff, and it's not gonna be like the nitty gritty and how I did everything, like all the things I use, but you follow this idea, you listen to this video, you cement it in your mind, you change your mentality about photography and how fast you can scale it and where you can go, then your business is gonna take off. So this is it. Watch this video the entire way through because it's gonna change your entire business, your entire life. I don't care if you're in the US, you're in the Philippines, you're in Peru, or wherever you're at, you're in Europe. This is how I made 6 figures, and I'm confident you can make this in anywhere you're at, right? Okay, so a little preface on this video, kind of telling you what I accredit my success or my early days of success to. I worked in 2 different fields. I worked in hospitality and I worked in sales. And hospitality had a lot of skills as well that I had to develop, but it kind of developed in a different way than my sales job. Before this, I was an economics major who then went to family life, who then dropped out. It was just like this mess for just business opportunities. Essentially, I found out that I can continue my education and accelerate it faster by doing something on my own than going to college, right? Now that's not a path. Obviously you do what you gotta do. You do what you think is best, but that's just what I took. Okay, so my first job, I worked hospitality, had an amazing team. I credit the owner of that company or the restaurant group for a ton of my success. Taught me so many people skills that I already had, but just augmented it, right? It taught me how to essentially talk to even more adults and successful people. At the age of 22, I was trying to talk to people that were 50 and super uber successful. And essentially it helped me get out of the shell that I didn't necessarily have, but I knew that I could get better at, if that made any sense, right? I wasn't necessarily a shy person. It just built more confidence in other areas of my life. And the second is sales. Obviously that teaches you the art of sales. One teaches you the art of people and how to be a little bit more loving, and the other one teaches you a little bit more on the art of sales. I quit my job in August of 2018, and it was a good job. I didn't enjoy it per se, but it paid the bills and got stuff done. And the growth was there, the opportunity was there for sure. It was awesome. It was a sales job, and I say it was awesome because of what it taught me, right? So every day we had meetings in which you just essentially would get better at sales. Like, what did you do wrong? How can you counter that objection? How can you sell something that you don't necessarily believe in, but that you know is gonna provide some dividends to you, right? And so what happened was that every day I missed a sale, I would learn something new from it, right? I would kind of be like, oh, this is why I missed it. This is why I need to change my pitch or change the way I address things. And so in sales, super simple, we're gonna just like list it right here for you. In sales, essentially it's a list. And you have to remember this list as your pitch, right? It's who you are, what you're doing, what's in it for them, what's in it for you, right? You pull back and you transition, okay? So who you are. Hi, I'm Daniel Rivera. I'm a photographer, videographer for my own company, whatever, Daniel Christopher Photo, period, right? That's who I am, okay? What you're doing, right? I've been taking photos for luxury retreat companies in a very niche market, and I'm here to offer you that service as well, okay? What's in it for them, what's in it for you, right? Obviously, the whole time, this is like my little mini pitch, right? So like, obviously times are changing, everything is virtual, everything's going more digital. My goal is to help you increase your ROI by providing you content that's not only gonna go viral, but also provide your business a better way to market your product, right? This is gonna allow you to generate more money, more cash flow, and in return, I'm gonna get paid and become your employee or get service or become contracted, you're gonna hire me, whatever it is. Like sometimes I'm just straight as forward as that. Like, listen, you're gonna love my stuff so much that you're just gonna keep hiring me over and over and over, right? It instills confidence and it's true, right? So just say it. That's what's in it for them. And then I might pull back, right? Obviously, every budget is different. People have different timing for things. Sometimes I'm just not the right fit because the projects are a little bit too small or a bit too complex. But here's the thing. I know that through communication and through conversation, we can figure something out that's gonna benefit you, benefit me, and in the long run, we're both gonna generate a lot of cash and be able to be successful with this partnership or this adventure, right? I say things like that, right? And it's so funny because sometimes what you expect is a conversation where you're just like, oh, yeah, I can do that, no problem, I can do that gig. And it turns into like, oh, I'm talking to this kid who's just trying to make some money taking photos. But when I approach it, it's more of a business transaction. which a lot of these higher profile companies are doing already. And so they're used to that sort of lingo, they're used to that sort of language, but they're not used to that in the marketing department. So when you present it to them like that, they go, whoa, this one's different. This one knows what he's doing. He's been around the block. He's communicated with these higher profile companies that he understands is the way it goes. And so whenever I pitch like that to some companies, they love it way more than just being like, yeah, I do drone stuff. Yeah, it's super fun. Check out my stuff here. It's like, no. I'm going to be much more professional about it. And so that's the way I go about it. Obviously, with that pitch, there's a lot of read the room. I do have a lot of clients who are super chilled, down to earth, and just fun. And I'll just reciprocate. I'll be like, oh, dude, listen, man, if you hire me, you don't even have to worry about that. Or not even if you, like when. It's like, listen, man, when I take those pictures, you're going to realize they're just going to be amazing, right? I don't want you to worry about the stressors of the shoot day or how it's going to turn out or what you're going to do, what you're going to wear. I'm going to take care of all that. You just like literally just chill there, drink your soda, like just like relax because I got you. Okay. Sometimes I communicate like that where it's just super simple and just super straight and that's it, right? So this is my advice to you. Before you go into any of these steps into launching your business, and I'm going to talk to you about, you need to do these 3 different things, okay? One is get these books, okay? Sell or Be Sold, Be Obsessed or Be Average, $1 Million Idea, How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? Those are like the books that are really going to help you with your sales skill, especially Sell or Be Sold. Which is just gonna augment the way you present and try to pitch things. Because you can follow these 5 steps, but if you are not selling successfully and you don't know what's going on, then it's all gonna fall apart. I like to compare sales to golfing. And hear me out, like I love golf, I'm not the best at it, but I really do love going. But one thing I am really well or self-aware is when I mess up and typically why I mess up. I wanna know exactly why did my ball do that flight path? Why did it go like off to the right or left like crazy? Because what it does is it helps me be better on the next swing. If you're just swinging, hoping your ball goes straight, like the outcome is probably that it's gonna go off again. And so that's something that you wanna do as sales as well, is you can do 1,000 pitches, and if they're all exactly the same and you got 0 clients or 1 client because you got lucky, something's wrong with your pitch. Like I probably close when it's people within reasonable price for me, not even for them, like for me, like I probably close like 70% of people that reach out to me. And I would say it's like a high close, right? Anything above 40-50% is pretty successful. And so that's essentially how you have to view things. Instead of just hoping that, oh, this person's already sold and their budget's infinite, you gotta say, okay, how can I make it so that my sales skill increases their budget and allows us to kind of meet where I wanna meet. So that's pretty clutch. Read those books. The second thing you want to do is create an elevator pitch, something super sweet, super simple, that kind of gets to be used quite often because people are going to ask you all the question, hey, what do you do for work? I hear that all the time. And in the past, I used to say, I'm a photographer. I'd shoot this and blah, blah, blah. And you probably heard of this and blah, blah, blah. And it was just annoying, right? So now when people ask me what I do for work, they give 2 responses. If honestly, I'm in a rush and we're having a conversation, I say something comedic like, oh, I take pictures. And then it usually leads to a conversation like, what do you mean you take pictures? Or like, what do you take pictures of? Like, do you sell them? Like, they ask questions, they're curious because the answer is so ambiguous that it creates more of a conversation on like tell me more about it. And then it gives me permission to kind of go into it. If it's an actual pitch, like, hey, what do you do for work? And I know this person, I focus on my niche or I focus on what I want to target, right? If I know specifically what they're doing or what their job or business is, then I'm going to focus that like kind of in a roundabout way, right? But typically what I say is I focus on my niche, right? It's like, hey man, what do you do for work? And I'll answer super simple. I was like, oh man, super simple. My wife and I own a production company where we shoot luxury retreats, hotels, properties, as well as conferences. That's it, done, right? Like if you're in that niche, awesome. If you're not in that niche, it's all right. Like that's what I'm targeting. That's what I want to focus on. And that's kind of where I go, okay? I pick and play. I kind of choose either one and they kind of work for me. Now, obviously my pitch gets redefined. My elevator pitch gets redefined all the time, depending on where I go, who I talk to, like I said. So that's something you kind of just want to play with, all right? And number 3 is presentation, right? You want to focus on your presentation. I'm not talking about the fancy words. I'm not talking about all that. I'm talking about how you look, right? How you say it, where you say it, that's all super important. If I'm dressed super bad and I'm just not looking my best at a shoot because I know it's super low key, but then I end up meeting someone amazing, my hair's not done, I don't have, like right now my beard's a little full, like you feel a little less confident, and at the same time they perceive you as someone that just really doesn't have everything together, and that's not what you want for someone in charge of generating more content for them. So presentation, super key, focus on presenting yourself the best version you can be. So now we're in the meat and potatoes, the new part. That was all prelude on building you up for this next 5-step way to generate 6 figures in your first full year of photography or videography, whatever you're doing, okay? All right, number 1, and this is a great place to start, whether or not you have that sales experience, because it can help you kind of generate that experience and the repertoire and the repetition that are gonna come from this next part. Now, if you're completely stuck and you have no idea what the word sales even means, then I would say like hit pause, kind of reflect a little bit back on that, read Sell or Be Sold, kind of work on your little art of sales, and when you generate that confidence, come back to this, because this is gonna be it. But if you're like, I can kind of sell something, I think, I kind of wanna try it out and see how it goes, then this is for you. All right, so here we go. Number one, this is the first step I took to create my funnel that I don't currently have, but that I started with, okay? And this is 1A, is interview, right? Is talk to people. Talk to people in your space. Talk to people who are successful or who are what you believe you want to get to. I interviewed 4 different photographers before I even took my first photo shoot that was paid. And the reason was I wanted to learn from them. I wanted to know, hey, what are your tricks? What do you got going on? How can I grow my business? How can I generate more income? And I had some amazing people that kind of gave me that first little push and gave me some really awesome advice. My favorite advice was actually something that was said in good nature and with the right intentions, but it just hit me hard. And I was interviewing this photographer, and all they said was, look, it just takes time. I was able to get to where I am in like 10 years, and I'm confident that in 10 years you'll be able to get to where you're at. Just don't worry about it, it takes time. And 2 things went to my mind is 1, I don't have time, right? And 2, how can I accelerate time so that way whatever you did, I can do it in a year. And immediately that was my first thought. And it was really cool because I saw what could happen if you just kind of let the business come to you versus you going and getting the business. And that immediately changed my train of thought. And that leads me to number 1, right? The actual 1. And that is building your funnel. Now, what do I mean, right? What's a funnel? We all know a funnel is a thing at the top that's really big and wide, and as it gets down to the bottom, it's nice and narrow. You use it to usually put liquid or whatever it is for baking or for your car or whatever it may be, okay? The reason a funnel exists is that it's taking a bunch of data or a bunch of numbers or income, whatever it may be, and it's pushing it down into a tighter, more narrow spot that then filters out whatever you need to come out. In our minds, an actual funnel, right? An actual funnel is just putting everything you put inside the funnel is going to end up out of it eventually, right? It's going to take slow for the stuff at the top, but it's all eventually going to go down. But in reality, there's a funnel with like a strainer or a mesh or a filter inside it, okay? And the whole idea is to fill this funnel that then is going to filter out the stuff you don't want and push through the stuff you do want into another funnel, okay? We're not actually putting it into a bowl or a dish, right? You wanna think of this as like multi-funnel, like the funnelception, or I don't know, the multi-funnel verse. So you essentially are gonna fill this funnel as fast as you can and as best as you can. And how did I do that? Okay, the first thing I did is I went on Instagram, right? I scrolled on Instagram and I found essentially anyone over 5,000 followers. I do not care who you were. Like I was indescript with it. It didn't matter, right? I reached out and I said, hi, I'm Daniel. I'm a new photographer in the area. I would love to take photos of you. This is what I'm hoping to capture. Is there a time and place that works best for you? That was it. I just copied and pasted that message with like a hi and a couple emojis so they know I'm not a bot. I followed every single one I messaged and I just blasted that. I just went all over, right? What happened is that I was getting all these small followers coming back to me like, yeah, I would love free photos. I would love it. Hey, do you shoot like content stuff? Can I shoot with products? Can I shoot with sponsored ads? Can I shoot with this company? And what I didn't realize is that all of these people that wanted to shoot and get free content, right? And yeah, I was trading for exposure, but hear me out. Trading for exposure with a plan, okay? That I didn't realize that they were all so connected with the market that I eventually wanted to tap into, okay? And so you build this funnel, you reach out, you schedule your photo shoots. Once your photo shoots are scheduled, you want to do 2 main things. 1, create great communication and show up on time. If you are late, that's on you. Bad taste in your mouth, okay? And 2 is generate business following the shoot. Okay, how does that happen? How do you generate business from something that's been completely free for someone you have no idea about, who could be working, I don't know, they could be doing just a job at some job that essentially you look at it and you're like, there's no way this is gonna ever make me money. Why am I shooting for them, right? This is what you do. 1, you create an expectation of, hey, this is free for you, but it's not free for anyone else. So what I said was like, hey, look, thank you so much for giving up your time, right? I was thankful for me to do this. It's been super awesome to work with you. I was like, just so you know, like, I know people are gonna love your photos. They will reach out about it. And my starting rate is just $50 an hour. Super easy. It's $50 an hour. They can up to 3 outfits, whatever they want, and we're just gonna go from there. The reason I did $50 an hour is because I was taking this funnel of free and I wanted to create a big funnel again, right, of $50 an hour. I didn't want to take any possibility of me losing someone by jumping it up so high so fast, right? Someone that's free can possibly refer me to $50 an hour, and I knew from there I could keep growing, right? And then the second thing I did that same night is I went home, I edited every single piece of content, and by the time they woke up, there was an email or a text saying, hey, thank you so much much for shooting. I finished your photos. I know I said 10. Here's 30 amazing pictures I took of you. I know you're gonna love them. Let me know which one's your favorite. This one's mine. And one thing I immediately saw from that was that my speed to market was super high and my speed to trust was extremely high as well. I generated a level of friendship with a lot of these people that they're like, hey man, this guy is actually really good and he actually means business. Like he understands, right? And what's gonna happen is they're gonna tell somebody about it. They're gonna say, oh my gosh, these photos are amazing. And they go, yeah, I got him back the next morning. And that to me is a huge seller, right? That right there is my $1 million idea. I'm all about speed to market. I don't deal with that month or 2 month stuff. No, it's within a week, right? Everything I do is within a week. And so you wanna focus on things like that and kind of push your agenda forward. Now, once your funnel has been funneled all those free into the $50, what happens is that I start building this giant gallery of things I've shot, like products, models, talent, just clothing, whatever it may be. I have this gallery that I've created, right? You don't wanna store it in a Google Drive, Dropbox, or whatever it is, or texting them. It's like, don't do that. You want to create a gallery somewhere and then essentially like distribute it that way. That way it looks pretty. You have an actual portfolio online. I'm posting on Instagram every day. I'm reaching out. I'm just constantly building up this funnel, okay? I would probably say I did close to 200 free shoots in my first 2 months of photography. And for there, the money started trickling in very slowly. I would ask for referrals constantly. I would post about referrals constantly. And what happens is these people I've generated friendships with started throwing business my way. $100, $150, $200. An architectural firm that I worked with, shout out to them. I worked with Ghost because of an influencer who at the time when I shot with her, I think she was at like 40,000 followers or something like that. And now she's at 250,000. And we've both seen some awesome growth since then. And she's a really close friend of mine still. And all that comes from just like, hey, like I believe in you. Do you believe in me? Can we do this work, make this work? And it just worked out, right? And so all that has come from kind of just funneling. And one of my biggest clients was actually someone that I took a photo for her. She was doing yoga, and now she's an extremely amazing love coach. And she has actually taken me to Belize and BVI, and it's been amazing working with her. So you never know where this funnel could take you, but because I generate such a big net and I caught so much and kind of filtered through it, it allows me to continue fishing out all these big fish, right? Number 2, I'm gonna talk to you about gear and your business. Okay, gear, let's start with that. Your goal is to have as little overhead as possible, but as best future-proofing as possible, if that makes any sense, right? So what I recommend is you don't buy the best absolute camera on the market. You go ahead and start with something kind of middle of the road. So often people start with like a very, very cheap camera, and what's gonna happen is gonna really decelerate your growth. You do wanna invest in your business, you wanna invest in your future. Look to spend around $3,000 to $4,000 on something that is both the camera and a good quality lens. I started super simple. I started with a Canon 6D full frame camera with a Sigma 35mm, and I just used my legs to go in and out. That is all I did. If I could redo everything, I wouldn't change a thing. I would start exactly with that. Now, obviously, you can start with like the Canon RP and maybe a Sigma with the adapter. You can start with a Canon RP with like a 24 to 70, and that camera will last you for like two years at least, right? And then you keep the lens and you just keep changing the body of it, right? And that's gonna allow you to keep your overhead really small, but allow you to start off shooting some really high quality stuff instead of letting the quality kind of hinder you back from landing these bigger clients that are looking for better quality, okay? The second one is business. You wanna create an LLC, specifically an S Corp in your LLC, so you can start writing off things, do your taxes, being able to hire employees and freelance, your W-9. If you don't have an LLC for your business and you're doing everything under yourself, you run the risk of several things. One, your taxes are higher, but 2, you're also running the risk that someone could sue you, and they could sue you personally. They can't sue your business because you don't have one, so they have to go for you. If something goes wrong, everything you own and everything you touch is up for grabs. While if you have a business that's more protected, you can have business insurance, you can insure all your equipment, you can insure your health, whatever it may be. All that is so much more protected when you have an S Corp and you keep your business and your personal separate. Also, real quick before I move on to the next one, when it comes to gear, really focus on what are some things that you really are going to use versus what are some things that are fancy and you feel like you may use. In the beginning, it's really important to keep your margins there, and a $3,000 purchase can really put you behind, especially if you're averaging only like $2,000 a month, right? It can put you down an entire month and a half, and that's not including your expenses to live. And so what I recommend is always find ways to save money while also providing the best benefit. So for example, one thing you really want to do is purchase just one single lens and just stick with that lens for as long as you can. You want to find a multi-use lens like a 24 to 70 or a 35mm meter that allows you to shoot an array of angles or ways or quality. And if you do need specific lenses, you can either rent it or even better, find a network of photographers that allow you to borrow it, right? You can find plenty of friends that have a 70-200 or a probe lens or a macro and say, hey, look, I have this quick project. Can I borrow your macro? I'll pay you 20 bucks. And odds are they're probably not using it. They could use an extra 20 bucks, or sometimes they'll just say, hey man, you can have it. There's no way I'll charge you. You're a good friend of mine. And that way you guys can help each other out. So super, super cool way to kind of just increase your business and grow from there. Number three, second shooting for another photographer. This has its pros and cons, but honestly has a lot of pros when you're just starting out and you have no idea what you're doing. If you are young, if you are 16, 17, 18, I recommend you to follow Eli Grice. He is someone that I had the privilege to have as my apprentice, and he's one of my best friends. And he grew his business from when he was 16, shooting amazing stuff. He met me, we worked together. I taught him the ways of the business. He launched his own company at 18. And now he's breaking six figures just by running his own company at the age of 21. And so it's amazing. He has had some amazing success. You should check out his YouTube page here if you want to kind of figure out how to do that at a young age and follow like really honestly an aspiring, super talented person. But you want a second shoot, right? So you follow along someone, you see how they run things, you see the run of show, you see how they communicate with their client, how they deliver stuff, how they shoot the complicated things. What it does is it takes a ton of the weight off your shoulder. It puts it on them. All you get to do is kind of just observe on, hey, they're doing this, they're doing that. This is what I like to do. I really don't like to do this without the stress of like messing it up, if that makes any sense. What it also does is it allows you to see how it is to work with a second shooter, because guess what? Eventually you're gonna have to start working with other people. And if your business grows big enough, you'll have several people underneath you, and it's really good to learn that managerial sort of experience. The last bit on second shooting, don't get stuck into the second shooting world where you're second shooting for free for a wedding or anything of longer than like an hour or two. That's not worth it. Honestly, like if someone's offering you the experience of a lifetime, you get to shoot a wedding and they'll teach you everything, like it's pointless. I don't like it. I think it's an abuse of working 8 hours for free just because they're shouting around you. I don't think it's fair. I think that deserves a conversation. So a lot of photographers out there are pretty abusive when it comes to that. Even when I have awesome gigs to some really cool places, experiences that most likely most of us in our lifetime will never be able to experience. Even then, I still pay my person, $1,000, $2,000, like just to come out to, I don't know, an amazing, like another country, all expenses paid. Like you get to experience some amazing things, but I'll still pay you $2,000, right? Like it makes no sense that you should do anything for free because your time is actually worth a lot more than you think. And yeah, don't get stuck in the whole second shooting little thing photographers do. It's gross. All right, after you've built this huge funnel, right, and you're kind of like making it smaller and smaller. The way you make it smaller and smaller, by the way, is really simple. You just raise your price, right? You go from 50 bucks an hour to 100, 150 to 200. Right now I'm averaging about like 350 to 400. And so like you want to just keep pushing the envelope higher and higher. And that's essentially how you're going to that is how you're going to cut down on your client list while maintaining the same amount of hours, but generating more income. Obviously you can work more and generate more income. That's all up to you. You kind of fix the balance and kind of figure out from there. That's the next step. This is just beginner stuff. Okay. Once your funnel is created, you find your niche, right? Something you want to hyper focus and hyper target. When I find something I don't enjoy, I charge more. And when I find something I enjoy, I charge less. It doesn't mean I'm cheap. It doesn't mean I'm inexpensive. It just means I charge less. For example, if I'm shooting for some client I just don't enjoy, I will charge them way more than if I am shooting for something that I really like. For example, I don't like newborn photography. Can I do it? Sure. Like, am I good at it? Maybe, right? But if someone comes up to me and says, hey, can you shoot this newborn photography? I'm like, great, my newborn photography is $1,500. And here's the thing, if they say yes, I'll go and shoot it. I'll be in good spirits, I'm making good money. If they say no, I go, oh well, that's no problem because I didn't want to shoot it either way, right? Obviously, like, it's just not my thing. Typically, if they say no, I then refer it to another photographer I know, and then I just get a little kickbacks. It's kind of nice. Make some deals out there. We can talk more about that later. So you find your niche and you start pushing these clients toward your niche, because guess what? Your real estate people are gonna know other real estate people. Your hotel property managers are gonna know other hotel property managers. And that essentially is how you enter the world that you wanna enter. If you're just shooting a bunch of other stuff down here and you're never kind of picking the fruit you wanna get, you're never gonna get it. So focus on, hey, what's my niche? How can I get there? And who do I need to talk to so that I can continue generating more clientele? Okay, and the last bit, and this is the most important bit, January 1st is just a day, okay? I have no idea why this happens, but the holidays start coming around and you'll start seeing posts from photographers saying, oh, just to let you know, all my prices are gonna go up on the first, blah, blah, blah. And it's fine, it's cool, you can do that, I guess, because it's like industry standard, but it makes no sense. If you wanna up your price on July 21st, you up your price on July 21st. Like, no one has to know. Like, you don't have to do a whole Facebook post about it, right? Because if I'm upping my price from $150 to $200 an hour, I don't want people to book it at $150. So me saying, hey, I'm gonna up my price, so you should book it at a lower rate, that's silly. Like, I don't want you to book it at a lower rate. I want you to go for my higher rate. So what's gonna happen? I'm just not gonna say a word. And then you're gonna reach out and you're gonna say, hey, I wanna book your services. They told me it's $150. I go, hey man, it was $150. It's actually $200 now. So I'm actually giving that old client a great deal. I'm willing to give it to you for $200. Like, if you wanna take it, let's do it. Let's rumble, right? And then sometimes they say yeah, and sometimes they say no. And if they say no, it's all right, man. You don't need that. There's plenty of fish. Law of abundance. There's plenty of money out there, right? Okay, so up your price whenever you feel like your funnel has gotten too big. For me, it's when I'm editing too long, when I don't have time to spend with my kids, when I'm on the road too much, when I'm just like drowning in work is when I'm like, I need to up my rate. I up it, and all of a sudden I got a lot more free time and I'm flexible to do the things that I wanna do. So you launch your business, you're gonna follow all these 5 steps, and what's next? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen is that you're gonna fill your schedule. Keep a calendar, keep some notes, keep clientele, keep emails, and follow everyone you have as a client on Instagram. You wanna interact with their pages constantly. I'm talking twice a week at least to generate kind of the whole theory of like out of sight, out of mind. You wanna make sure you're always in sight and always on their mind, right? What's gonna happen is that you're gonna build this funnel, and this funnel is gonna keep growing, and you're gonna realize your business is gonna just explode, okay? Obviously, there's so many other tips and so many other suggestions and tricks that I can give you in the meantime, but here's what you gotta do for now. For now, apply these things in this video, rewatch this video if you ever get stuck, and focus on, hey, what's gonna make me that money? What's gonna allow me to continue growing my business? Because here's the thing, there are new photographers that start every single day, and there are photographers that fail in their business every single day. The pandemic probably wiped out half of the photographers I knew as friends, and the other half exploded in their business and are doing some amazing stuff right now. And so if you are able to continually apply yourself and figure out what's the next step and where do I go from here, that's gonna allow you to just grow exponentially, okay? Bonus tip, goal setting has never been more important in your life. You have to have a goal, and that goal has to be hinged on the math that you're doing for your business now, right? What do I mean? How much are your expenses? I need to know, or you need to know, the exact dollar amount of what you need to make in order to survive. I'm not talking about like, it's like around 1,000, it's around 2,000. No, I'm talking exactly the amount you need in order to survive that month, right? To break absolute even, okay? The second one you need to know is how much are you making on average, right? How much are you making every single week, every 2 weeks? Where's that money going? And how can I continue making that money, right? And the third thing you need to do is you need to divide all the money you're making by how many hours you're working, and that is how much money you're making an hour. What happens is so many photographers go and charge $100 an hour for a shoot, and they go, $100 an hour, wow. And then it's a 20-minute drive there, a 20-minute drive home, 2 hours editing, like an hour dealing with them on the phone, and all of a sudden you're 5 hours deep and you're like, oh wow, I only made $20 an hour, right? Like, that is what doesn't account in your head. And all the gas you spent to get there, like all the gear you had to use, your memory card failing, the batteries you had to buy, like no one takes into account their overhead. They just think money just happens. And if you believe money's just gonna fall around you, like it's just not gonna happen. Be meticulous on where the money's going, how's it coming in, what your goals are, and how you can achieve them. We're gonna have a whole video on goals and stuff. Like, don't worry about it. I'm gonna pump out a bunch of free content that if all y'all aren't 6-figure photographers the next year, like I'll be highly disappointed, right? Reach out, drop some comments below, subscribe. My whole goal is for me to just be able to give you a wealth of knowledge so you can make money. Like, full transparency, guys. This is easy. Like, it's super easy to generate what you want as long as you know what you want, if that makes any sense. All of us want success, but we don't know what that means, and it has a super different definition for everybody. So figure out your goals, make those goals, and let's hit those goals, guys. All right, see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.